we will get started. My name is Erica Fine. I'm a senior program manager at Green Schoolyards America. And helping me today with this webinar is Lauren McKenna, also a senior program manager at Green Schoolyards America. Lauren, next slide. Our agenda today is a little bit of introduction, orientation towards this community of practice, a couple quick updates, and then we have two presentations today. Usually we have one and then Q&A and some networking time, and our two presenters today, both from Los Angeles Unified School District, we're excited to share the wealth of knowledge they have with you. So we're going to have two presentations, a shared Q&A, and we will save more sort of networking time for the next one of these sessions, which would be in March. Thanks, Lauren. You can hop to the next one. So by way of a little introduction, Green Schoolyards America is a nonprofit based in Berkeley, California. We collaborate with school districts and public agencies to establish large-scale living schoolyard programs that transform school grounds into ecologically rich and park-like green spaces. Our goal is to improve children's learning, health, and happiness while building ecologic and climate resilience. Next slide. This community of practice is a part of our National Schoolyard Forest System, a program that initiative that we launched last year to help school districts from across the country increase tree canopy on their school grounds in places that will directly shade and protect pre-K through 12 students from extreme heat and rising temperatures due to climate change. This community of practice is also connected with the California Schoolyard Forest System, which is the first state in this national initiative. Next slide. Feels useful to take a moment to say what is a schoolyard forest, since that is the context for this community of practice. There are many kinds of schoolyard forests, but generally we think of them as climate oases on school campuses that are designed to nurture and protect students from extreme heat. So think about trees planted together in large groves, climate adapted tree pallets, design that encourages children to enter those shady spaces. And we are also really like thinking about engaging students in that design and the planting, the stewardship of those spaces. Next slide, Lauren. The goal of this community of practice is to provide and build a collegial community of practice and national network for establishing schoolyard forests. We want this to be a welcoming space where folks from all of the different types of disciplines that are involved in this work can come together and share information and make the kind of connections that will help us bring schoolyard forests to scale. So a couple quick updates before we jump into our speakers. Next slide. We have talked a couple times at this series about some of the grants that have been coming out from CAL FIRE to support this kind of work. I'm going to drop in the chat a page that is on our website where we're keeping track of some funding opportunities, as well as the information for these CAL FIRE grants. The Green Schoolyards grant guidelines are now online. The deadline to apply has been extended to April 14th. The application form is still forthcoming, so that deadline might get pushed again, but yeah, you now have online the guidelines for that grant. So go check it out. You can join their listserv to make sure that you are getting updates about that. Next slide. The other quick update I wanted to share is that last time we announced that, or got to share with you that we have been working with Senator Heinrich's office, a Democratic senator in New Mexico, on a Living Schoolyards Act. It was introduced to the Senate last fall. It's designed to direct federal funding towards transforming schoolyards into living schoolyards, and to support the passage of that act, to get people excited and educated. We are hosting a lecture series. You can see some of the topics listed here. We have panels of experts coming together to speak to each of these topics. So please join us for those. You can find more information on our website and register. It's a free webinar series, so we'd love to have you there. I will put those in the chat too. All right, Lauren, next slide. Okay, this is the exciting part. This is hopefully why you all are here. Again, we have two presenters today. They're both from Los Angeles Unified School District, and I will introduce them both up front at the beginning here. Our first presenter, Gerardo or Jerry Salazar, is the administrator for the Office of Outdoor and Environmental Education for Los Angeles Unified School District. His office offers programs at 2 residential outdoor science schools, Camp Skyhook at Clear Creek and Point Furman Outdoor Education Center, as well as 7 single-day field study sites. Under his leadership, student participation in environmental literacy, science, and engineering programs has increased dramatically, in large part because of strategic partnerships and collaborations with community-based organizations that he's helped develop. He brings a depth of experience to this work. He has multiple master's degrees, was a team lead in the California Environmental Literacy Task Force, is currently chair of the California Outdoor Schools Association, and serves on several advisory councils for federal and city initiatives related to education and the environment. After Jerry does his presentation, we will have a presentation from Christos Chrysiliou. He is the Director of Architecture and Engineering Services for the Facilities Services Division of Los Angeles Unified School District, where he manages a team of architects, engineers, and sustainability and energy managers. He's a bachelor's degree in architecture and an associate's degree in interior design. He's a licensed architect, certified construction manager, a lead AP BD plus C. You all will have to tell me what all the acronyms mean. He has experience in architectural planning, design, sustainability, and construction. His expansive knowledge and experience empowers him to direct complex programs that are responsive to the surrounding environment. His vision is to develop balanced environments that utilize sustainable techniques and materials that protect and restore our natural resources and enhance our well-being. We are so lucky and proud to have them both with us today. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jerry for the first presentation.
So outdoor education at LA Unified, we have grown considerably, but that started a while back. So outdoor education in Southern California, in particular LA Unified, has been something that we've been very proud to be leading for a very long time now. And it's just over 100 years now within our school district. So we want to contribute to the overall goal of the strategic plan for the school district, which means that we're all about academic excellence and enjoying wellness. So I'm going to fly through this because I know our time is limited. So when I'm talking about joy and wellness, and we're looking at academic excellence, and if that's what we're really planning on doing, then we need to make sure that we understand the big scope or the big picture. If we want to be part of that budget line, that line item within the school district budget, then we have to have an impact on deliverables that the school district has for its constituency. So that would include the academic portion of the of what we need to deliver to our communities, but also what we say in terms of the public eye or what the public persona of the district is. And if we really believe in social emotional learning, for example, then we need to ask ourselves, how are we deliberately contributing to it? Those of us who are outdoor educators know that it does, and many of us believe that it happens just by being outdoors and naturally. However, we call it out specifically, and we identify portions of social emotional learning that our staff are designed to make sure that we contribute to. So to the left of this picture, I'd like to start with this picture because Vernon City Elementary School in LA Unified is in the city of Vernon, but it's also known as the most industrialized area in the United States. So, but that's the case in a lot of our high need schools. So you have a lot of gray here, a lot of streets, not a lot of green. And then that's the learning environment where our kids are typically in, and then we take them to a learning environment to the right. So being from a country that I was born in Costa Rica, so that where nature is a big deal over there. And we kind of take it for granted. From my perspective, I'd rather learn on the to the in an area that's to the right of us on this picture. So we have four programs. Clear Creek is our oldest program, and the other three programs are brand new as of this year. So our instructional foci, we provide phenomenal phenomena. What I mean by that is that if the next generation, with next generation science centers, we talk about that phenomenon that we use as a hook to engage students. In our case, we really really focus in on our inner 12-year-old and ask ourselves, what would be phenomenal phenomena so that the kids will never ever forget this experience. And our mantra is to create an emotional connection to learning in the outdoors. And the reason we want an emotional connection is because if a student is, or a child or a human being is emotionally connected to anything, once the supervision is gone, they will go back and want to learn more about it. So that's why the mantra is focusing on an emotional connection. Yes, we do the next generation science centers, the EPNCs, pretty much what everybody that is that's an outdoor environmental educator will want to engage in. The social emotional wellness, and but the other thing is that we try to focus on is English language learners. How do we use the outdoors, the realia, and a lot of the in-person opportunities to really introduce students to the language of science and climate change in a real world environment, so that when they hear it many times as terminology for the first time and learn it for the first time in this in situ environment. So I'm going to go over Point Furman real quick. That's our program out by the ocean. So it's a 2.5 acre site. It's about 3-day, 2-night camp, and it's 80 students max. So we focus on ecosystems and in particular the coastal ecosystems. And the climate change connection is that we study the students. Again, I talked about phenomenal phenomena. We put kids out on a tall ship, and we have them learn about the effects of ocean acidification by having them collect water samples at different waypoints within the Port of Los Angeles and outside the breakwater. So many of our kids have never been to the beach before. I know we live in LA. The beach is kind of like in the eyes of the world. It's a beach town. Well, not for a lot of our kids. They just don't have the access that they should to a lot of these coastal ecosystems. And this is one of our phenomena, right? So a lot of our kids don't know can't drive a car, yet we give them access to a $3.5 million ship. They steer it, they provide the waypoints, and they are in control of this vessel, and also the whole investigation while they're on the water. So at Clear Creek, it's our oldest outdoor education center. I call it, I consider this is what started it all. 5-day, 4-night program, 80 kids. Started about in 1923. After a big fire, kids from LA High School started planting those saplings. Those saplings are now this outdoor classroom for our program at the Angeles National Forest. Canning Creek, by the way, Clear Creek, I didn't say. The explosion or the acceptance of outdoor education really started happening because at some point Clear Creek had a 5-year wait list. And because of this 5-year wait list, then we opened up Point Furman and started looking at ways to provide more experiences to our students in LA Unified, which were just over about 500,000 students. So Canning Creek is our newest site. And this new site was made possible by 2 resolutions passed by a board and then supported by our current superintendent. So this site is 82 acres. It's a much bigger, it's more than double the size of both of our Clear Creek and Point Furman combined. So we're starting with 80 students and we'll grow up to about 180. So this is the new venue. It's like, I consider it like a cruise ship on land because it has ropes courses. It's even got a small golf course, which we're going to repurpose for something else. But it's an amazing site. again, we're also going to do a lot of the next generation science standards and EPNCs on this site, as well as team building. To the right, those sticks sticking out of the dirt over there, or the lawn over there, is a big ropes course, challenge course. So we select schools. By the way, all of our programs are free. Schools don't pay a dime. They don't pay for the bus. They don't pay for the experience. So we choose priority schools based on highest need. And also we look at access to the outdoors for different communities within our school district. All of our schools, we have about 1,000 schools in our district, have access to these venues. And the fact is that we want, the goal that we're trying to go after is that all fifth graders get to go to camp before they go to middle school. So our Day of Discovery program, it's a single day program that started because we felt bad that there was a 5-year wait list at Clear Creek. Now this is a fully funded program. All of our programs now are fully funded. So we've gone from a mentality of, or a reality of scarcity, where we constantly had to fundraise and find partners and find funders to support these programs, to one of the district all now saying, we know this is important for children. We've known this for a while. Now we're going to fund it. So we are going to make this a priority, and let's grow. So now the tricky part is growing sustainably. So Day of Discovery is one of our more sustainable growth programs. So at this point, we have these are the programs that we have, and some of the folks that will look at the one right here at the Battleship, Iowa, and say, what does that have to do with the outdoor education? Well, it has a lot to do with climate change. So we look at what we're looking at. The Battleship is this is for kindergarten, for 4th through 12th grade. So the idea there is, this is a ship that would go out to sea for 4 to 6 months at a time. How is this moving island sustained, and what are the systems that are involved that are Earth systems that are replicated upon this ship? So that's the kind of mindset that we always try to have a systems-based thinking throughout all of our curriculum. So all of these programs start from kindergarten to 12th grade, and we're scaffolding next generation science standards based curriculum throughout the whole time, so that when kids are building knowledge and more importantly experiences, they can relate to what they're learning from a book or from their teacher in the classroom. So again, the idea here, if children are emotionally connected, like these kindergartens here to the left, you're going to know, the adults just are out of the way and let the kids do their thing. They're completely engaged and don't want the adults to bother them. To the right, at the kids at the Battleship. Our Skyhook Eco Van, this is our collaboration with our other partners, with the Skyhook Foundation, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and during COVID, he donated 4 of these vans for us to visit kids because our schools were closed. So the mantra there was, if kids can't come to camp, camp's going to go to them. So we started visiting a lot of our partners' sites that were in the city of Los Angeles. So again, focusing on the alignment to our district strategy is high quality instruction, eliminating the opportunity gap. The big deal. So opportunity gaps in LA are significant. So we want to go ahead and address that. Joy and wellness, we focus on the whole child, social emotional learning in a deliberate manner. Operational effectiveness, everything we do is data driven. So an example of data driven is that we look at data that A through G requirements from middle school, starting middle school. How do we support those A through G requirements in high school? We know that a lot of kids have a hard time with biology and chemistry later on in high school. So that's why we start the scaffolding in TK with some of those opportunities for them to learn and experience traits and also protocols that would support them in a biology or chemistry class later on in their career. We have had a longitudinal study supported by Occidental College, where according to the survey of the teacher survey, kids are, after their experiences, are 100% motivated. There's an interest in science. It's not this boring thing that is just reading a book. It's something that's alive and affects them personally. And the content in science is all of a sudden very, very interesting to them. Again, motivation, and keeping them emotionally involved. The other thing is that we make it easy for principals to sign up for these programs. You go on our website. These are steps here. If you're still having an issue, go ahead and give us a call. Make it easy. We order the bus. You tell us when you want to go and where you want to go, and you're on your way. Future ideas for our programs, including the integration of the UN Sustainability Goals. And what does it mean? Making things relevant to students is pretty much one of the things that we really focus on. And one of the last things I wanted to say is that everything we're doing is in collaboration with other units within our school district. It's not necessarily that we are isolated. You're going to learn that our next speaker, that as the school grounds are being greened throughout LA Unified, we are collaborating with the unit that is greening those schoolyard grounds, so that the teachers, that once they experience our programs, can go back to those school grounds and use some of those and learn how to use those resources. Whether it's I'm a big fan of the school forest. So how do we leverage what kids experience at Clear Creek at a school forest at their school site, and then maintain that exuberance throughout the year? And any information there, you have my information. I think you guys have it anyway, right, Erica? So if anybody wants to get a hold of us, here you go. There's a website at the bottom if you want to learn more about our programs.
Yeah, we do. We can pop that in the chat. Thank you so much, Jerry, for that presentation. I will pop Jerry's contact info in the chat, and I just want to say again, I appreciate those of you who are putting questions in the chat. Please continue to do that. We're going to hop over to our next speaker, but we're tracking the questions that you're asking. Also appreciate those of you who are answering each other's questions. That's part of what we are aiming to do in this community practice. So please continue doing that. We're going to pop over to our next speaker, and then we will have Q&A, sort of shared Q&A time at the end. So a reminder that our second speaker, Christos, is the Director of Architecture and Engineering Services at Los Angeles Unified School District. And Christos, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you so much, Erica, and thanks to Lauren, also to Sharon Danks for inviting us to present today. This is great to see a lot of our partners being here today, and a lot of the greening community. It's always brings a lot of pleasure to see people that have a passion and interest for greening. So thanks for that. So I'm just going to go through my presentation to make sure that at least I have about 30 slides. So I'm just going to try to go fairly quick. Let me just make sure that at least I can fast forward. So today I'm going to be giving you an overview of the Sustainability Initiatives Unit. We're going to discuss a little bit about campus ecology, some of the guidelines that we're developing for nature-based play. I'll be discussing the resolutions that recently passed, the climate literacy and the green space to all schools, and then how we're trying to prioritize schools. Share a little bit of information about our greening index, and then we'll share some of the programs that we have, some of the campus ecology programs we have, and then talk a little bit about our partners and their support through this mission that we have. This is kind of crucial, important to me to share. A lot of the times we take things for granted, and it's important for us to understand the importance that trees play to our lives. And while you see some bullet points here about how they help sequestering the carbon in new growth over years, how we're seeing some of the direct benefits that we have for cleaning our atmosphere, I think it's also important to recognize that there's something even more important. They bring us together, they're uplifting, we feel safe. It's a place where it's very peaceful. And with that, we've there's a lot of elements that come together once we find ourselves in these environments. And it's important for us to learn from nature through the wildlife that they support, and how we can be able to build similar or environments to help sustain ourselves and our future through the different types of environments. One of the things that when I've done some research in terms of outdoor learning has been around for centuries. Thousands of years ago, we can see that even the ancient philosophers would be sitting under a tree, and they will be teaching their students. And it's important to understand that this is not something new that we're creating, but it's something we should be able to build and enhance on. So we're seeing past and future, and we're puzzled of how we can create even more creative environments to connect our young ones to education, but also look at this outdoor space as a learning lab. A little bit about the LA Unified and why I have this slide here. I mean, being the nation's second largest school district, it's important to recognize how many acres of land we own, how many students we teach or pass through our schools every few years, and the families and the communities that we impact. So to me, more than anything else, is that this shows that we have, it's of great importance that we help support, because everything we do, it impacts our future generation of youth, our students, our climate, and our communities in general. So we need to always be reminded of that. So our sustainability initiatives unit was focused in 6 areas. I'm going to be spending most of my time discussing campus ecology, which is very important to all of us here, but also look at energy conservation, water conservation, educational awareness, which is another great topic that I really like to share all the time, high performance schools, and emerging technologies. In terms of our campus ecology, our mission is to increase green space to provide healthy, comfortable, and safe playground environments that are conducive to learning and play. And when you do that, you have to look at and set up goals to be able to get there. And one of the biggest goals, and it has to do with also maintaining those spaces, is to connect curriculum to outdoor learning environments. So to do that, we do connect, and we do coordinate through the school site administrators, and we conduct interviews to understand what's the best way to be able to do that connection and provide curriculum that can be sustainable on the school site. So they also help us with providing shade in our schools, and it's important that we continue to provide those spaces to reduce the heat island effect. I mean, last year was a big issue of seeing the drought that we have and the temperatures that we're able to hit. And then at the same time, we have to look at the conditions that we have to sustain those environments and what planning we need to have. We have to continue providing habitat for the campus wildlife. It's important that we sustain that. Otherwise, we're seeing that a lot of the different environments, they begin to deteriorate. And then, we have to come up with solutions to capture water, infiltrate. And at the same time, for us, we have to come up with a way of how we can prioritize in terms of our environments to select the right schools that they have most need. Jerry talked about this and he touched on it, but we learned that through campus ecology, there's so many things that happen on those playgrounds. From creative play, I mean, these students, they learn how to discover new places, they explore, they use their imagination, they do associate some of the different types of plants that we put out there, or trees, and you can see the different types of gatherings that they kind of form, relationships, friendships that they develop, and you see a kind of a certain type of identity that they kind of support and promote. I guess through those communications, they can establish even long life friendships. At the same time, we want to share importance of those environments and how they can, as they connect, how they can be able to continue having those kind of environments even at their homes. And then certainly, I mean, that's why it's important that we don't stop there, but engage community into this process so we have a true collaboration. At the same time, we do recognize that as we go through the process, for us as schools, we have to comply with certain requirements. For example, our middle schools, we have to comply with PE requirements. This is why we have to work with the Department of Education. We have to work with the state to recognize and how we can explain and support the different type of nature play environments that we develop that can be as good as some of the environments that were developed in the past. That was mostly different kind of games. For example, anything that had to do with outdoor play, some of it now can be converted to these nature play environments. So we started to look at different type of outdoor environments. You can see a multi-use outdoor learning environment here, balance and climbing, edible gardens, construction area. And we strongly feel that all these types of environments, there are learning opportunities and the students can actually play, and it can help them out with different, providing different support to increase different areas of development, of child development. Most recently, last year, we had a few resolutions that passed. One is a climate literacy resolution that myself and actually Jerry are in the resolution with a lot of other people from the school district to help support this resolution, and which helps to enact a comprehensive climate literacy program for LA Unified to help address the escalating climate crisis. But through that, we kind of meet quarterly, and we'll try to share resources, and we're trying to come up with solutions for how we can best engage. And also, it's open to the public, and we engage the public to come and join us so they can share their thoughts and ideas as well of how we can continue to improve. Another resolution that passed last year is green space to all schools. And the mission of this resolution was to accelerate and greatly expand efforts to bring green space to all its campuses. And that's when we have a lot of campuses, as you saw earlier. And for us to be able to establish this minimum standard of 30% green space, while it's a challenge, it's a great challenge because it provides some great solutions. And I'll be sharing with you some of the solutions that we're coming by with. And the idea here that we need to make sure that we meet certain standards and comply by 2035, and to prioritize schools with the most asphalt as the ones that we should take immediate action. So a green index was developed, and we use this kind of prioritization matrix to identify, to look at all of our schools and come up with a criteria that can help serve of where to go first, which schools have the greatest need. And you can see the community park need prioritization that we use. This is the LA County Parks Needs Assessment. And then we use the campus greening need, which is something that we have internally. We have the facilities condition assessment of our schools. And then we use a mixture of 40-60% ratio to develop this greening prioritization methodology to identify the schools that they have the greatest need, so we can go there first. And then we have the programs that are ongoing, and a lot of you are familiar with, and we have over $500 million programs through different times. And some of the ones that you're seeing a lot, and you hear a lot, and we're going to hear some of the other ones more coming up in the near future. Our SEEDS program, our Sustainable Environment Enhancement Development for Schools program, we have $5 million, and that's a program that we're spending about $100,000 per school site to 150 to help support greening. We have the Early Educational Center outdoor classrooms. We have a new program that was recently approved for outdoor learning environments. We have the paving stormwater management related programs. We have what we call the exterior upgrades. You're going to be seeing a lot of those projects coming to the board for approval. And we have community initiated and grant funded projects that come through the different partnerships that we have. And with that, anytime we modernize or construct a new site, always greening, and it's in our mind to make sure that we have the right projects or develop the right environments. This one here, you can see contemporary here before and after. You can see asphalt, and you can see a conversion to an outdoor play environment. And we have over 67 projects that were completed at different locations throughout our schools. And then we'll continue constructing some of those, and we have 30 more that in the pipeline right now. And the idea is that we keep replenishing this program with more funds to be able to have more school sites with similar programs. You can find out a lot of this information on our website. These are some of the photographs from different schools that feature different types of gardens. You can see the habitat garden, you can see an edible garden at Glen Feliz, and each one of those, they're tied to curriculum to make sure that we get the participation and involvement that we need to. You can see Eagle Rock, the habitat garden. We have an outdoor environment there. You can see multi-use garden at Contemporary, or reading garden outside at Hubbard Elementary School. So all these have many things in common. One of my favorites too is the early ed centers, outdoor classrooms, that approximately about $67 million were allocated to this program. It's an ongoing program. We have a lot of them, a lot of the projects that were completed, but we've learned a lot out of these programs. And I'll share a little bit later what we learned and how we're applying, because we're learning that out of the youngest ones and how we're able to develop programs for them through a program initially called Nature Explorer. We're able now to use a lot of these on elementary schools and middle school sites. The outdoor learning environment program that I was mentioning earlier, this is that provides the greatest needs for green space. And again, this is more than anything else. It's actually spaces where we have outdoor, we have portables. In this case, it's a removal of portable or replacement of portable classrooms with an outdoor environment. And the idea here is to connect these environments with the school sites by developing spaces that can provide lab hands-on learning activities, different types of exploration, and different places for students to be able to gather and be able to enjoy the outdoors. The paving repair stormwater management, that's another program that initially it was to just pave some of our school sites, but we engage a lot of the principles of understanding the kind of need to be able to capture and infiltrate water and develop green spaces. So we came up with different types of concepts, and through the program called DROPS, we're able to develop this program. That's a drought response outreach program for schools, and we're able to develop different kind of gardens and take into consideration a lot of the, you can see this detail here. You can see how we have to understand the site topography. We have to look at space limitations, how we can be able to make sure that we comply with the ADA requirements, which is the state requirements by the state architect, and then how we take advantage of land use, any pollutants that we need to make sure we clarify before we return any water back into our storm drain systems. So there's a lot of considerations here that take into play when we design some of those features that you're going to be seeing right now. And you can see some of these photographs from the DROPS projects that we did in the past. Northridge Middle School, you can see some of the bioswales and seating areas, some of the bioretention areas that were created between classrooms, some of the pervious pavers and different materials that we developed to transition students from one location to another. And then also some of the pathways, like you can see decomposed granite. And the idea here is that how do we be more creative, more imaginative in terms of coming up with solutions that fit each unique school. And the idea is that as we learn, from whatever we learn here, we apply it to other school sites and we'll continue to improve. Example, the exterior upgrades program here is a $300 million program. You can see here an existing site plan of Plummer Elementary School and how we're taking this school and how we're transforming the outdoors into a schoolyard by developing different types of elements, different types of activities that the students can go through, different types of exploration. And as they explore, you can see here like the different areas highlighted in different letters. But the idea here that I shared earlier on the EECs, on the early educational centers, how we can take some of those concepts and apply them here by developing these creative spaces. So at least you can see our students thrive and be able to associate or learn through different spaces that we have. So anything from music and movement area to climbing, balance areas to outdoor spaces where they can sit and have a session, to transition space between one space to another, and open flex areas that we have, and applying different types of activities. Our third-party green programs, our partners are unique and great. You can see here Eagle Rock working with our Los Angeles beautification team. Kitchen Communities, Trinity Elementary School. You can see some of the raised beds that we have here for the edible gardens. But on the bottom, you can see when we all come together, we can be able to create and develop features of different types of environments. And again, thanks to our partners, our community, and everyone was engaged to help us develop this kind of creative space. And of course, when you have a planning day, a lot of people show up to help support the purpose. And you can see here a picture with 3 people doing a planning in one of our school sites. And this is great because we have programs and agreements through different with different partners to help us just do that. We do take advantage of the funding opportunities that are available. Most recently working with the CAL FIRE grant and trying to work through our partners, but all the other grants that you can see here, the California Natural Resources Agency, through the Urban Green Grant program that they have, we're applying for those. We're applying for every single grant because we have a great need to be able to develop more green spaces in our schools. We develop resources. You can go on our website at learninggreen.laschools.org. We developed this garden guidebook to help initially our school principals or site administrators to see the different types of gardens and see their programs and see how they can tie curricula with the different types of gardens, anything from habitat to reading to multi-use, edible, agricultural areas. And yeah, there's a lot of nice reading actually if you want to look at some of this and read some of the how we define gardens and the types and use of gardens, and also features, meaning like what can you add to a garden to make it a garden like that. A huge thanks to our partners, to our friends that they're here with us, supporting us constantly. A lot of you, I wish I had more time to go by name, but all of you, it's great to work with you, and we thank you for your support throughout. It's continuous, and we need to be doing more of it. So with that, I want to thank, and I want to give a big shout out to my team, to the LAUSD team, because this work doesn't happen with one person or two. This is a lot of people come together, as you can see from the work that we have here, and it takes everyone's efforts. It takes efforts from our schools, from our communities, and more than anything else from our partners. So with that, thank you, and I'll turn it back to you, Erica. Thanks.
Thank you so much. It was really amazing to see, hearing both of these presentations together, to like just have the full picture of how broad your set of programs are, how they span across ages and across the different physical spaces. There's so much in what you're doing. It's really, really amazing to see it all sort of laid out together. Huge thanks to both of you for presenting on your individual pieces. We're going to shift into a little bit of Q&A time, and we can do this all together. I've been sort of tracking some of the questions that have been coming into the chat. If you all have more questions, at this point, time-wise, we've probably got enough questions, but I'll try to keep tracking if folks want to keep putting questions in the chat as well. So one question that I would like to pose to both of you is thinking about the breadth of the programs that you just shared with us, all of the district-wide commitments that you shared, especially Christos, about the different resolutions that you all have passed. Jerry, the new, building these new sites for students to go to. What were some of the factors that have enabled you to be successful in passing, in passing those kind of resolutions and doing things like, building new sites for students to visit? What are some of the factors that have allowed that kind of success? So
from the programmatic part of it, I think one of the factors is the fact that for a long time, Clear Creek was always behind in terms of allowing kids to go. There was, like I said before, it was a 5-year wait list to go to these opportunities. So there was a great deal of demand. So we created the demand. Now, when Furman opened, the demand was still there. So as the other incentive or the other reality that we have in our school district is declining enrollment. So as declining enrollment has become a something that we are grappling with, we are looking at how do we provide services or that added incentive to keep students in our school district. So we know that a lot of parents many of them who are millennials now, value outdoors, value the opportunity to send their kids to opportunities such as these. So we are marketing that and providing those opportunities to students. And if you provide these out of school opportunities, then from the facilities perspective, not trying to speak for Christos, but that's an additional draw. If your schools look inviting and welcoming and have a lot of green and canopy cover and all these wonderful things that Christos was describing, then you're going to want to put your kids in there. I mean, as a parent, as a father of two, that's the kind of place I would want to have my kids in. So if it's good enough for my kids, it's got to be good might be good for everyone else's too, right?
That's great. Yeah, Christos, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah. For me, honestly, and I say this from the bottom of my heart is, I really want to thank our board members. Our board members actually, I don't know, they're very passionate about greening. They understand greening. And all these resolutions that I just talked about, they're passed because of their interest and care. And they want to see our school campuses being green. For me as an architect and our team, we can provide solutions. But if we don't have a resolution to help us build against, and to add to that, having our superintendent Carvalho, who just joined our school district about a year ago, and be also passionate about greening, I think enhances and give us give us what we need to be able to be successful, because then we can apply our imagination and come up with solutions to help support our schools. That becomes our venue, and it becomes our pathway towards that resolution. Thanks.
And to Christos' point, there were two outdoor education resolutions, including the climate change and school greening. Both of those resolutions passed unanimously with multiple sponsors. So this was the time, I guess this is our Goldilocks moment right now in LA Unified to push forward and be aggressive. We don't know when, how long the funding will keep going. So we want to be aggressive now. And I think that's working together with other units, marrying facilities division with the education and the operations side of it is something also that we're now working with, and it is pretty new actually for us now.
Can you share anything else with us about what that relationship looks like, how your departments sort of work together on this set of programs and sites?
Go ahead.
So one of the things that we're discussing, and I've been talking with another colleague who's in our committee here, is we want to leverage our eco vans to visit schools, and our naturalists that drive these eco vans and provide the programming, identify places on the school grounds. And then they provide activities that the teachers can then once our staff is gone, can go ahead and do. In some schools are not greened yet, so they never, regardless of whether a school is green or not, there are opportunities to go outside and teach. So part of the opportunity, part of this opportunity is to really take that bashfulness away from the teachers and say, hey, teaching outdoors is fun, and it's a great way to engage all learners simultaneously, but also let them see our naturalists teach as a way of mentoring or as a way of showing them how it's done. Because there's a lot of elements that go into teaching outdoors. One is group control, another one is making sure that students stay engaged. So and it's a novelty for many students as well. So getting them used to that is part of what our EcoVan programming is trying to go out and do throughout the city and throughout numerous schools. Christos?
Yeah, no, Joe, this is great. And I see some of the from the chat, some of the messages another person said teaching outdoors is fun. I mean, obviously for us, sometimes we go to different parks to celebrate, and we pay a fee to do that. Why not have our schools be fun and develop outdoor environments that can be able to learn and play? And so our young ones can learn by applying different types of, innovation from their side. anything from science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics to kind of biomimicry and understanding that kind of a growth and child's development. I think it's important. That's why we work together. Myself, I've been working with the Division of Instruction for the last, at least since I've been in this position, and we develop programs together. And with Jerry now, I think the climate literacy resolution brought us together to even work even more and develop more curricula base. You're going to be seeing a lot more coming out soon. We have what we call the climate champions right now on our school sites. You're going to be hearing about that and the work that they're doing. It's something that the Division of Instruction started. But what's great is that we're working side by side, and we'll come up with solutions to complement what we're trying to achieve here. So I think it's very helpful.
Thanks. No, it's neat to hear, how that relationship is developing. I want to go back to something you said about it feels related to what you said, Christos, about the board and sort of how important it was to have them on board, and Jerry, what you had said about sort of marketing and, how having people, think that it's cool that you're doing, know that you're doing this work and believe in it has been so important. There were a number of questions in the chat that feel like if I had to sort of put them in a big group, they're about getting principals on board, getting staff on board, getting teachers on board, which you just spoke to a little bit, Jerry, getting district facilities, union leadership on board with this kind of work. I wonder if you can speak a little bit more to what that has looked like for you all. It's amazing that you have a board and a superintendent that is excited about it, but wondering, if there are other things that you do to help get other, all of folks at these different levels of leadership who are all necessary for the system that you've created, how you sort of engage staff and folks at these different levels.
Well, getting principals on board isn't very difficult at all. We know that a lot of, especially at the elementary level, we know that a lot of teachers aren't very comfortable teaching science. It's not something most folks are trying to teach English language arts and math. That's the big ticket item in K-5 education. But if we leverage the outdoors to help support the teaching of English language arts and math, and by the way, can we also teach science and social studies and cross-curricular, then again, you get those, you use all learning modalities simultaneously. You get those kids in the back of the classroom that aren't necessarily paying attention. I was one of those. And then also those kids in the front of the classroom, right? That are always dialed in and focused. So my evil plan is to make sure that teachers look to the outdoors as their first choice of teaching. If you could read a book out there under a tree and make it memorable, and there's a specific excerpt in a book or a piece of literature that describes or focuses on an outdoor setting, then you can have a very rich conversation about it, right? So the same thing could happen with science or with social studies, so again, don't get me started. I could keep going, but I'll let Christos talk.
No, Jerry, thanks. I mean, to me, someone said earlier, I'm going to say it again. Developing these learning environments, the outdoor environments, it's fun. They're fun environments. We associate with it because it brings memories of play, how we grew up. And I think seeing the young ones have the same opportunities, it's incredible. And, it's very easy to get people on board just because as I was sharing about the board members and about our superintendent at the same time. I don't think there's anyone who's going to disagree that an asphalt playground is better than an outdoor green environment. So for us now, it's just how to apply creativity, how to come up with smart solutions, how we have sustainable programs that can help us out to develop or have curriculum associated with it. So at least they can sustain themselves. And it's not something that we're going to develop and only last for a few years. So that's important to us. And I think we're developing those pathways. I think we're seeing the partners coming, joining us. Again, big thanks to the partners, because without them, we can only do so much. And because they're the ones who come and talk to us all the time. I want to develop this program. I have this grant. I want to work with you. And I think now they know how to engage us. We've been having forums, meetings with them to share best practices, to share at least what we know, share information. And then the idea is that together we can do so much more. can be able to have so many and better environments. So I think that's why that's our mission right now, to kind of continue that collaboration.
Thanks. Let's see, we have so many more questions. There are some other good questions we want to be able to ask, but I'm just checking our time and I want to respect both of your time and all of our participants. Thank you so much for everything that you've shared with us. Thanks to all of our participants for joining us. There will be more of these sessions. The next one is on March 21st, and more opportunities to ask questions. Thanks to both of our presenters for sharing their contact info, and yeah, we really appreciate you being here. We appreciate all of our participants being here. A couple folks asked about recordings. We have been recording this presentation and it will be online in the next week or two. Please share with your colleagues, and feel free to reach out to any of our team at Green Schoolyards America if you have further questions, and we'll do our best to get them answered. Thank you all. Appreciation to everyone who joined us.
Thank you, and thank you for the work that you do, Eric and Sharon, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. All right,
Thank you
bye-bye.
so much, Christos and Jerry.
All right, bye-bye.